there's no promotion cycles for anybody, regardless of how I performed, right? So then I thought it's time to make my own destiny. Yes, we're not big. Yes, we're not the big consultancies or the agencies, but we're hungry. And I find it fascinating that even now people still don't take time to speak to customers, research with them, observe them, because that's where the real success lies.
In today's episode, I'm excited to welcome the visionary Sudipt Shah, the visionary founder behind Digital of Things and UserQ. Sudipt made a bold move from a corporate career to pursue his passion for user experience and entrepreneurship, establishing a company that revolutionizes how businesses create exceptional digital experiences through expert UX UI design and comprehensive user research. Join us as Sudipt shares his inspiring journey of launching Digital of Things, navigating the challenges of the pandemic, and expanding in the dynamic Middle Eastern market. Discover how he built strategic partnerships, developed innovative tools like UserQ, and fostered a diverse, passionate team dedicated to excellence in UX. Whether you're a product manager, an aspiring entrepreneur, and a UX professional, or simply curious about the intersection between design and business, this episode is packed with valuable insights and actionable advice.
Thank you so much, Sudeep, for making the time. My first question is, what inspired you to leave a corporate role to start your own venture, Digital of Things?
There's a few reasons, actually. Number one, like entrepreneurship has always been in my blood. Since a young age, I've always wanted to do things. I think I started my first small venture maybe when I was 17, and I've done quite a few. So Digital of Things is not my first one. It is the most longer serving one. But I've always done entrepreneurship. I think my dad's a businessman or my family's business. So I've grown up in that world. So I've always wanted to do something myself. And there's a few other reasons. Throughout my corporate career, no matter how hard I worked or what good I did, there was always an external factor for stopping me with growth. So for promotions or pay rises, it could be we're doing budget cuts across the board, or there's no promotion cycles for anybody, regardless of how I performed, right? So then I thought it's time to make my own destiny. I thought that was the main reason. I said I'm not waiting for anybody else or external factors to affect my growth and my business. Let me just do it myself. That was one of the main reasons I thought, okay, it's time to start and do something for myself.
And what exactly is Digital of Things? What do you do, guys, over there?
So we are a specialist user experience company. So what we do is we help companies create amazing experiences online. Now, there's a few things we do within that. So user research is a big part of our business. It actually makes up quite a big percentage of our revenue. And we help understand the customer through, it could be focus groups, one-to-one interviews, or usability testing in our lab. And we understand the pain points, the frustrations, the wants and the needs, and then we design experiences accordingly. So we do everything from user research to UX, UI, and that's where we stop. So our expertise and passion lies around that. How do you create beautiful, seamless experiences for clients? So that's what Digital Things is. We've worked with all industries in this region. We focus ourselves on this region because, as you know, there's so many nationalities living here. There's so much diversity. You need to really understand the customers. And I find it fascinating that even now people still don't take time to speak to customers, research with them, observe them, because that's where the real success lies. So we've always focused on this. As a byproduct, we get a lot of international companies coming to us because they want to target the Middle East. And it's a completely different market for them. So we've worked with a lot of international brands and we've helped them localize for this region. So how can you change things slightly, change the UX, change the UI, change the language to accommodate for this region? So that's what we're very, very good at. This is what the company does.
Let's say I'm an international company and I want to localize into the region. What is the first three things that I need to change, for example?
So there's a lot of different things. It depends on who you're targeting.
Yeah.
So if you're targeting, let's say, predominantly Arabic speakers, you definitely need an Arabic app.
Okay.
Now, a lot of international companies would, use Google Translate or something else, which doesn't work at all. As you know, there's different dialects, there's different ways of certain words, for example. So sometimes it's the RTL, designs the right to left, it's language copy, but it's also some certain features that are unique for this region. Like I'll give you an example. When I started the company, like cash on delivery was very, very prominent. This is before Apple Pay came into the region, before people were used to credit cards. And it's a cultural thing, right? People didn't have that much trust in credit cards and payments like that. So cash on delivery is a big thing. So a lot of a lot of companies were localizing for that. So there's features, there's copy, there's design that is very, very different. I'll give you a perfect example. Let's say images. to illustrate your product, right? You have to be very conscious of the culture. There's certain images that you can't show. There's certain advertising that you can't do. So there's things like that which they don't realize, and that's what we help out with. Even conducting research, for example, we've had international companies conducting research with us, whether it's here in Saudi, Egypt, and it's very different. Even how you conduct research, it's not get straight to the point and find out what the problem is. It's build a rapport, build a culture, it's the culture thing about getting to know the person and then getting to the actual research. It's things like you can't assume that you'll get consent for recording videos and photos all the time, So even those nuances we help out with is how do you understand the customers here? How can we help you? But also design effectively for this region.
And what was the first steps that you took when you said, hey, let me start Digital of Things? Did you had a clients first? Did you had a partner first? Exactly. What is the first thing you did?
Great question. So we actually planned it quite strategically. First of all, I had a co-founder. So I met Brooke, my co-founder, at work, and I was just talking and said, look, business is my dream. I want to start something myself, and I've got an idea for something that's missing in this region, which I think is going to grow. Even if it's missing, it doesn't mean it's going to be successful. There has to be a need in the market, and I saw a really interesting article actually that talked about digital maturity and which companies are growing in digital maturity very, very strongly. And UAE and Saudi were on that list as the top companies. So I thought, okay, I'm here. Digital is going to grow. It's still in its nascent stage. I love UX. I love product. I love software. What can I do to set up a company? And that's where Digital Things idea came from. Saying that, by the way, I bought the domain Digital Things in 2012, 6 years before I even started the company, because I knew I was going to do something with it. I knew I was going to start my own venture. I knew I was going to do something with this name. And then it kind of just happened that, hey, we've got a company name. So when I met Brooke, I told her the idea and she said, okay, I'm joining you. And she kind of just said, okay, I'm leaving with you. And we both decided together to leave and start this. Stupidly or bravely, we don't know. But, at that time, you don't think about it. You kind of just carry on. But it was very strategic. I still remember this. We had a strategy of how we penetrate the market. And again, going back to what you discussed before about what steps do you need to take and what things you need to do from an MVP perspective, this is what we followed. Now, MVP doesn't mean it's just about a tech product. You can apply it to anything. So we did it in business as well. So I said, we just need to slap together a website. Okay, it doesn't have to be cool, it doesn't have to be amazing, but at least I can run some ads on it, we get some leads coming through. So we did that. Then I said, what we need is a distribution network, because there's no way that we can penetrate the market very quickly unless we have partners. So then we scoured partners in this region that are complementary to us. So for example, a branding agency. They are at the front of a client. So say a new client, a startup, right? They would want branding, they want logos. So we thought, okay, if we partner with them, I'm guaranteeing you they will want an app or a website or some sort of UX UI. So they're perfect to pass on business to us. So let's do that. Then we identified development companies, because development's great at technical development, but they might not be amazing at UX, and they want to partner with somebody that can do UX. So like that, we built up a whole partner network. We identified them, started talking to them. So what happens then is they become your sales team initially, right? They actually say, hey, I've got some business for you. You could do this for us. So we built a whole go-to-market strategy before we did anything. So we built who the partners are, how we're going to advertise, how we're going to market, how we're going to get the names out there. So we did all of that way before I even left, before I even started Digital Things. Then, during my notice period, I started doing client meetings after work. So this is like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, in an office that we just bought, rented out, and we were still doing the fit out. And again, is MVP. We had those picnic tables, instead of the actual full desks and things. We had all the tech for the usability lab, and clients would come and they'll be fine with it. They would say, hey, this guy's new, he's starting his own company. And we started having those meetings. So I would say there's probably about a 6-month window where there was a lot of work in the prep before we launched. And I still remember to this day, the day I started full time at Digital Things was my first ever client project. and it literally was like a smooth, seamless a transition from corporate to entrepreneurship. But there was a pre-work. There was about 6 months of hard work and sleepless nights, and hustling to get to that point. So that's how we did it, and it kind of worked out well. And after you get the first 2-3 clients, then you've got the case studies, then you've got examples, and then the word of mouth affairs. So then it kind of just grows organically. But it's really important to get those first few clients on board. So that's how we started. And I always said to Brooke as well, there's a lot of mantra about fake it till you make it, show you're bigger. I actually went the opposite way. And I think it worked really well in this region. I kind of said, this is who I am. I'm 2 days old or 1 month old. This is my team, which is Brooke, me, and maybe one other person. Yes, we're not big. Yes, we're not the big consultancies or the agencies, but we're hungry. We'll make sure we do a great job. This is my background. This is Brooke's background. This is us as a team. And I guarantee you we're going to do an amazing job because it's important to us. And I think clients really, really love that. They said, actually, he's not faking it. He's just telling me the truth, and let's give him a chance. And that's how it kind of happened initially.
One of the most common reasons why startups fail is because the founders don't gel so much. Mm-hmm. What makes you and Brooke actually, your partnership works?
Okay. We've been working on this for 6 years together as a company, 7 years if you talk about the year before. I think what gels is we know each other's skills and weaknesses really, really well. Like really well. She'll know something that she needs me to do, and I know vice versa what I need her to do. And I think that has really, really worked well because it's not overlapping and it's not clashing. She knows that I'm very good at this, you're very good at this, and that's really, really helped us. And I think there's a mutual respect for each other. I think that's the critical thing. I don't think we've ever had an argument, to be honest, in 6 years. It's just been, it's not smooth sailing. There's always ups and downs and things like this, but we've been through it together, whether it's the ups or the downs, And I think there's just a mutual respect that we have for each other and our work and our skill sets. She was from a marketing background and kind of operations and marketing, whereas I'm more from UX and product, and that kind of worked really well. And I shouldn't say that, but I don't like marketing is probably my weakness, but it was her strength. And vice versa. So that really helped because she'll fill in for my gaps and I'll fill in for her gaps. So,
can you tell me a little bit more about how did you land your first big client?
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So the first ever client was actually through the partner network. So they knew we were building a usability lab, a UX lab. So they wanted to use us. And remember I said that I identified partner companies. Mm-hmm. I approached them, talked to them about what we're doing, the price points and everything. And they're like, hey, we've got a project, for our client. So it's actually another agency or another consultancy that had a client. And then they started saying, hey, we've got this other company that has a lab and they can do user testing for your product. So that's how we landed our first client. Then the second one, because of the ads that I placed. So I'll give you another example. What I focused on in terms of advertising is I thought, okay, this region is very new in terms of the UX and product world. At that time, remember, this was 2018 when I started. And a lot of expats are coming, and they're coming to be head of product, or they're coming to be head of UX or UX designers. And they don't know the region, right? These are all expats that are new to the country. Whereas I'm from London, I'm from UK, and I know the best companies out there. I know the best UX agencies. I just know it off by heart because of your career. You kind of grow up in that, right? You don't really Google people. You kind of know these are the best companies. Whereas even if you're a seasoned UXer or you're a seasoned researcher or product, you would come to this country and you would Google, who's the best UX agency or where is there a usability lab? So I focus a lot of my ads on Google. The fact that people will search because they're new to the country. And that worked really well at that time. So I got a couple of leads from that, my paid ads as an example. Even internationally, we had a massive food delivery company that found us from Google advertising because they were from the UK and they wanted to understand this region. So they just had to Google something, right? So that was a strategic play from a marketing point of view. And that was my kind of second client. So, and the third client actually, again, came from a lead somewhere. But it was funny because I told them that I'm very new I'm literally 1 month old into the company, and this is our team. And they actually loved it. And they said, we were up against seasoned agencies. And this is a big customer. Over a period of time, we won the project. And I took them out afterwards and I said, hey, can you just tell me now, why did you choose us, compared to everyone else? And they said, you knew what our problem was and you told us how to solve it. Whereas everyone else tried to sell us everything else. They said, oh, this is your problem. But by the way, do you know you need this. And all you said was, okay, that's your problem. This is how you solve it. And it's going to take you this much time. And we trusted you that you're going to do it because you had that hunger. You had that, hustle culture to get it done. So we went with you. And I think that's how I landed my first 3 clients. So partners, paid advertising, the strategic paid advertising that we did, and just that trust and that kind of hustle mentality that they liked. So.
Man, it's so inspiring. There's a controversial saying as a product person. I'm not sure how I feel about it, which is first time founders focus on product, second time founders focus on distribution. So that's amazing that you built all of this. But first, let me ask about the partners. How do you approach it? Do you tell them, hey, I have this company, and if you send me leads, you get a percentage? Or how do you approach them?
Yeah, so initially, so I didn't try to approach competing companies, right? It was always complementary, that I knew that they needed our help, or vice versa. And it was always see, in business, it has to be a win-win. Like no one's going to do business with you if you're taking something and they're not. So it has to be a win-win for everyone. So in these situations, the partner companies bring expertise that they might not have in-house, right, to the client to offer the best work. So that's great for them. But at the end of the day, you still have to make money. So we did have a kind of a commission structure scheme, where let's say I reduce my rate card and they can mark it up, or there's this flat commission fee. That's how we started with that. And if they're happy, we're happy, and vice versa. It's completely fine. Also, this region, because again, it was quite new in that digital kind of maturity, and it was growing very, very strongly. I think the clients realized that you're not going to get one company that can do everything perfectly here, at that time. So they knew they had to bring experts in, and I think the clients were very, very good at understanding that yes, we need branding. Let's get the best branding guys. Let's get the best UX guys. Let's get the best developers. As long as our product then is the best of everything, that's okay with us. Whereas I think in more mature markets, they probably want, okay, I just need one company that can help me with everything. And there are companies that do that. But I think at that time, there was a need to bring in people from everybody. I think the clients, all they really cared about was, I just need one person to speak to. As long as someone's project managing, someone's handling the whole thing, I don't mind if you bring in the expertise. So I kind of played on that and spoke to a lot of partners. I say, look, let's work out a commission deal. We're very good at this. You're very good at this. Why don't we just pass business to each other? And it wasn't one way, by the way. So we used to pass business the other way. So it has to be as a win-win. So even for branding, like when we're doing the UX UI for any company and they say to us, hey, do you know any good branding agencies? The first people we'll go to is our partners. Or do you know any good tech companies or development companies or digital marketing companies? So we had this kind of network of all these best competencies, but we will pass business to each other. It wasn't just a one-way stream. And that worked really, really well at the beginning.
What exactly is a usability lab?
A usability lab?
Yeah.
It's like, how do I explain it? It's like an FBI room. It's like a...
We're going to include pictures.
Yeah, I'll show you some pictures. It's cool. I used to use a lot of it in the UK. And when I used to work for a bank as well, and other companies, it's essentially where you get your actual end users in a room, and a researcher is there to moderate the session, and you're asking them to perform activities on your app, and the clients are watching from the other side. It is absolutely fascinating what you uncover. So, I mean, people use, let's say, Google Analytics or anything, or hypotheses, or they have preconceived notions about why the app's not working. But when you watch your users actually use it, it is absolutely fascinating. I don't know, have you ever been to a...
Never, ever. I just Googled a little bit, but because I know one of my designers, he always wanted to do something in the company. But if there's any interesting insight that you uncovered using this usability lab?
Oh, yeah, loads and loads. So what in the Usability lab? Imagine there's two separate rooms covered by a one-way mirror. So clients are sitting.
So it is like an FBI room.
It's like an FBI room, yeah, but more chilled. But then the users in the other room, and again, the whole process is a bit of an art, right? It's not just, hey, can you try and order some food or book a ticket? It's not like that. You have to put context into it. You have to give them a scenario. So my researchers, when they're performing this study, they're very skilled in this aspect. You know, how do you get the most value out of it? How do you make them feel as if it's their normal process of how they would perform an activity on a task? So we prep everything first, the script and what we're going to take them through, but we're recording everything. So we're recording the screen, we're recording their body language, we're recording their face, recording their voice, and it's all being replayed into that other room, right? And it's completely soundproof, but you can hear everything. So you're literally watching every little interaction.
And you're recording where they're looking on the screen?
Yeah, completely.
Eye tracking.
Eye tracking. So we've got eye tracking equipment. Yeah, it's amazing because you actually see where their eyes, not just where they're focusing on, but how they lead to that path with their eyes. And again, there's different situations where you need eye tracking and sometimes where you might not need it. So like, let's say placement of buttons and things like that. Of course, you'd use eye tracking, right? I remember there was a bank I did a study with where they wanted to see if anyone reads the terms and conditions. It was like a checkbox. And, you said there's a big blurb because usually a bank would want a lot of text. And we found out from eye tracking that no one even read the text at all. They looked at the checkbox because they're trying to click on it, but no one even read the text. So then it begs the question, is it worth putting terms and conditions there anyway if no one's going to read it, right? I mean, yes, you have to for legal reasons, but what if no one's looking at it? What we say is data always gives you the what, like what is happening. Like, yeah, we see a massive drop off here or at this stage, but you'll never get the why. So a UX lab or usability testing gets you the why it's happening, which is super, super fascinating. I remember once we did a study where the guy was like, I can't see anything on this mobile. And everyone's looking, the client's looking, and we're looking, we're like, what do you mean? There's like a whole app here. And he couldn't see anything. It's because it wasn't accessible and the color ratios were off. So everything for him was blank and white and like he couldn't distinguish between the things. That would never come out in data. It would never come out in analytics or anything, right? So those kind of things, you understand why, you understand why people are going back and forward. What are they looking for? And it's super fascinating. If you get a chance, I would definitely recommend it.
I would love to maybe we can record a little bit as well. But again, you're a startup, you're starting with limited resources. Why did you decide that it was important to have a usability lab first, then the business?
Right, that's very good question. So we wanted to do something which shows that our focus is on research. We're not just another development agency or a tech company. We are a pure play UX company. This is what our passion was. And a big part of UX is user research, right? It's understanding the customers and then designing experiences. Our office, let's build a lab first as the focal point, and then we'll build an office around it. So that's how we started. And we really focused on what is the best equipment out there, what are the services that we can show. And I remember all the client meetings that we had at the beginning, the first 6 months, everyone's loving it. They're like, oh my God, this is great. It's a cool lab. And it really helped sell actually the services. It actually helped sell our credentials and the proposition that we were developing. So that's why it costs a lot of money, but we did think this is the focus. We need to show that we are researchers, we are user researchers, we're user experience experts.
And you guys now are expanding to Saudi Arabia. Is there any cultural differences that you face from the UK to the UAE in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, there is a lot. It's cultural differences in, Saudi is growing super fast, super fast. But they're kind of leapfrogging, so like if you've got, I'm trying to give you some examples, but let's say they've got something digital, offline. Saudi would want to leapfrog and go straight to digital only, right? Which is great. I mean, it's a whole transformation, but it's not gradual. It's like a whole jump, which is great for the country, is great for everything. So their ambition is very, very strong, which means their speed is strong. They want everything fast. They want, everything quick, but still good quality. So it's really important to understand the ambition they're trying to get to and how you can fit along that and how you can make the vision happen for them as well. So we saw that sometimes the process it requires might be a bit of an education piece at that time. So, we need to go through discovery. We need to go through this stage of definition. We need to understand from your users. They're very open to it, but I think you just have to educate a little bit more about why this is important. But it will grow. Like, we're seeing it. We work with a lot with the Saudi guys. The good thing is the ambition is there, and the appetite is there. So it's not like no one listens to you. They actually want to hear what is the best practices. How do we do this? Which is great. And again, culturally as well, it's a very relationship focused thing. It's a face to face. Go and see them, which I love as well. I'm a people person, so I like that. I like the fact that it's about relationships initially.
What do companies get wrong when they're trying to build a product in Saudi and expand it? Because I know I worked in 2 companies that were trying to expand in Saudi, and it's really tough there.
Yeah, I think it's the culture of the country and how people grew up, right? It's quite different to UAE. I mean, UAE is filled with expats, which brings its own nuances. Whereas Saudi, a lot of them are Saudi locals, and again, it's how they were brought up, how they were their upbringing. So you need to understand how to connect with them emotionally, how to connect with them based on their culture. That's how you're going to succeed of it. We've seen people that try and just copy paste something that's happened in Europe and US. It doesn't work like that, I mean, let's take fintechs as an example. The Middle East in general, right? There's a big focus on family and parental influence on financial decisions, which I would guess in UK and some of the Western Europe or US is not as strong. So again, you got to understand these small things about culture, the trust they have on platforms or credit cards and things like this. That's what we say. Understand the customer, tweak it to help localize, and that's when you see the success of it.
Let's say I have an application and there's something wrong with the application. I'm not having the right traffic that I want to. And I said, let's do 1 round of user research. What is like the most common mistakes that I would do when a new company is trying to venture and actually start interviewing people? Because that's the right thing to do.
Yeah. Okay. The number 1 mistake is recruitment. Recruiting the right people. Like you said, it's about like segmentations and things like that. A lot of companies will say, oh, let's just hire a few users, and they'll pick, and it's a bias thing. They'll pick the best users. You're not going to get the right value out of it, if you just pick existing users that are super users, or you'll find, let's just find the people that gave us a low NPS score, because then all they'll do is they'll complain. So again, clients think that they can recruit very easily. But there's a whole process around recruitment just to get people in to talk to. It's identifying the right people that you want. It's making sure they turn up. What is the right incentive, right? All these factor into it. Like, we have a very good no-show rate, a very good low no-show rate. So when we interview, we know they'll turn up. Whereas we've had clients before that say, hey, we'll just recruit because we don't want to spend the money and we'll do it ourselves. And we tell them it's very, very difficult and please, you won't get the quality. They're like, no, it's fine. And what happens is you pack in, let's say, 5 interviews in a day, and no one will turn up. There'll be 1 person that turned up. Why? Because first of all, they haven't got the operational behind it. There's no one that's saying, hey, let me send them a Google Map link. Let me share them exactly what to do, when to turn up. There's no one doing that. They just send a calendar invite, expect them to turn up, right? There's a whole process behind it. The other thing is they said, no, you know what? We'll just give a $30 voucher for our own platform. Come on, like what will happen is they'll wake up on the day and they'll be like, oh, okay, I don't want it. I'm just not going to turn up. So getting the right incentives for the right time that you need them for is super important, and that's what we advise on as well. So there's a lot of things in there that clients don't realize. So the number 1 mistake they make is recruitment. They find it they'll realize how hard it is, but to be honest, that's the most important thing to get right, the recruitment. So I would say get that done first. And the other thing is, even doing the actual moderation or speaking to the customer, if you're a product manager or a UX, sometimes you throw in your bias, do you like this feature? It's like my idea. There's a way of asking the right questions. There's a way of getting the right value. If you really want to do true user research, you need to get the script right. You need to get the right context setting. You need to get as much value from them as possible, but from themselves, not a bias that you're trying to lead them on. The way you ask questions, you can't ask like one-way pointing questions, for example. So there's a whole process around this, and I think people think, oh, I'll just talk to a few people in the coffee shop and ask them. You might not get the right insight for it. So I say recruitment and actually conducting the research itself. I would say that's where the mistakes are made.
Any other mistakes?
I would say the the influence of that research to your stakeholders. How do you tell that story? I think that's probably the other mistake they make, which is we've done loads of research, we've found some great insight. You give it to somebody without getting the right story behind it. And what will happen is it gets thrown away in a drawer somewhere and people carry on with their roadmap, rather than actually changing things. So I think the other mistake is how to influence the stakeholders that your research is super important and we need to do this to increase all our metrics. I think that's where people find it a big struggle.
Oh man,
You can. I'm sure you know.
We had a user researcher team that used to spend like 3 months doing a lot of research. Then it will just sit there collecting dust, and as a product manager, we would not use it at all, and it was a waste of time. But that's a very important point. How can you influence stakeholder? Either how to manage up, how to convince people, hey, this is the research that I done, this is the pains, needs, and desires that I uncovered. Now you can use it.
It's a tough one because this is what everyone battles with. All product managers, all UXers, everyone, designers will battle with this. It's like, how do you convince the stakeholders? I think the main thing is we need to understand each stakeholder's objective or KPI. Everyone will have one, right? Whether it's revenue, whether it's engagement, whether it's loyalty, it could be anything. Are you first of all understanding what that is? And then is your research helping to meet that metric? A lot of people will show research, but it doesn't really affect them, as much. But if you, let's say, I don't know, your metric is conversion, and we say, this is stopping conversion, this research piece, we need to change something that will uplift your conversion by X amount or whatever it may be, that will hit you. And you say, okay, yeah, I should do this. So it's about aligning and understanding what stakeholders' metrics are and how the research fits into that and how that can shape your roadmap to meet those metrics. The other thing is, even there's the small things, like a lot of people show reports, but they don't tell the story, they don't set the context. They don't say, this is someone that would be struggling with this. What we found is really small, but it really, really has the biggest impact. Show the video of your user. Show him struggling, show him or her struggling, or show him saying something so profound. Most people show the research reports in a PDF or a presentation format. Okay, that gets tossed in a corner. But even a 10-second video where someone's saying, I don't understand this, right? That is so powerful that anybody will sit up and take notice, for sure. We've done this a lot, by the way, with clients, where as an agency, we have a certain a recommendation, and we say, guys, you need to change this. This is not working. And they'll be like, no, why? Our CEO or C-suite, and I'm saying something else. And the only way we can do that, because what happens in that situation is one opinion against another opinion. And we're not going to win, right? We're an external company. We're not going to win, regardless of our expertise and everything like this. But the time we show the video, the time we show quotes, the time we show here's someone physically struggling with it, that really changes the game, because then it's not subjective anymore. I'm saying, this is your end user. But we did 5 usability tests. 4 of them have said this. That's a lot, right? I mean, that really changes it. And we've used that technique a lot with clients to even enforce our opinion, to say, this is what customers are saying. I remember once we had a client and they said, we can't show any offers in Dubai or discounts or anything like this because it ruins our premium brand. And we said, okay, but we understand, but the region, the cultural nuances of this region is everyone looks for offers. When you open up your apps, right, the first thing you look at, delivery, where's your buy one, get one free, where's free lunch or free point? Like you look for certain offers. If you're watching a movie, which credit card gives you the best buy one, get one free ticket? It's just a cultural thing. So we said, okay, but we're going to do some user testing. So we did that. And we did it with 6 people. And every single one of those people said, where's the offers? Where's the page? And that just showed what we were trying to say. And it kind of reinforced that point. So those kind of things you have to use as and when required to convince the stakeholders. But it's a bigger game. It's harder I know it's very difficult in the corporate world to battle, but you got to choose the battles.
And just to add on this point, because I was struggling with the same problem, and I used to use like 5-pager report. My upper management did not read them.
Yeah.
And once I started recording, like even like 20 seconds, 30-second videos, small camera with a microphone, and they mentioned their pain points, needs, and desires. And this really, something about video really struck home with my managers.
Yeah, exactly. And hearing it from your customer itself, that is super, super powerful. You know, you can't beat that at all. And that's what I suggest people do. Just even if it's 10 seconds, 20 seconds, just show a clip.
Now, tell me about UserQ. You already have digital of things. You're already a very busy entrepreneur. Why you decided to create another company?
So UserQ. So I always wanted to build a product. So I've worked in product for a long time. So I know how to kind of build products. Obviously, I have a services business, but to scale, a product's the best way to scale, right? It's with margins and everything like that. It's the best way to scale. And I remember we used to work with a lot of startups, and we used to do their UX UI, and they were really successful once they launched. Right, they raised millions of dollars, you know, and really grew. And even existing startups we used to help, and it used to increase their conversions and revenue and things. And I said, we are UXers. Why don't we just design our own product? You know, surely that makes sense. So that's what we decided to do. And we said, okay, what is something that we're very good at? What is missing in the region? You know, I'm not a food delivery person or a car parts seller, nothing. I don't know that industry, right? What I know is UX. I know research. So what can we do in our field that we're very good at, that we can design ourselves? And that's where UserQ was born. It was actually a side project. We call it a side project. So everyone has side projects in our team, like the Google way of doing things, where we work on a specific service or a product. And in COVID, UserQ was born out of that. So it was a side project. And we said, think about a platform that is needed in this region, what's missing. And we decided to create it. So it's basically a user research tool that is made by user researchers. So we made it, and we are researchers, so we know what is needed. We're filling 2 gaps in this region. One is Arabic testing. So it's very difficult to do user testing on a platform in Arabic, the whole right to left. So we designed that. None of the global tools do that right now. So we thought, okay, that's number one. We have to do it because a place like Saudi, I mean, 80% of people still browse in Arabic, you know, so it's quite prominent. So you have to test in Arabic. So we did that first. And the other one was recruitment, like I mentioned. And it was very difficult to get people that were living here to test with. And we wanted to build that database. So that we've built now. We've got about 16,000 and it grows every day. And they're all from this region. So UAE, Saudi, Egypt, Oman, you know, Qatar. And it's great because people are, okay, I can access people that are living here. And we're collecting demographic data on them and we're testing with them. So they're the 2 pain points that we filled. And it's the product. The other reason we built the product is very complementary to our services. Our ICP is actually quite similar to the services, and actually UserQ feeds in a lot of leads for digital things, and digital things feeds in a lot of leads for UserQ, because sometimes they want both. They want qual as well as they want automated, unmoderated testing. And UserQ, sometimes we get clients signing up and they're like, hey, actually we need this, but we also need something else. So then they come to digital things. So it kind of fits very well together. And it's a similar kind of client profile. So
what's on the roadmap for UserQ? Is there any feature you're personally excited about?
Oh yeah, there's some amazing ones. So the thing is, like every product manager, our roadmap's huge, you know, and it's just prioritizing that. But we're very excited. We're working on AI. We've launched our first AI use case. We wanted to test it out on UserQ. It's automatic survey generation based on, because some of the things that we found out from clients was, you know, they struggle with asking the right questions in a survey. So we said, let's just try it out. And we're all new, by the way, in AI, so let's test it out. So we did that. But we've got some great AI use cases that we want to build out. Like, for example, we've got 6 years of experience in running user testing with digital things. How can we utilize all of that knowledge? How can we utilize everything that we've done so far to build it on a tool that we can use? We do want to go global. You know, right now we're focused on MENA, and we do want to grow massively. But the only way we're going to do that is if we do something that is different to the global market. And we've got some ideas. Watch this space. It will come out. But AI is very exciting for us that we're going to do in the coming, I would say, next few months.
It's a little bit different than your competitors? I mean, you have pay as you go. There's a focus on localization.
Yeah.
What other thing that sets you apart?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So actually, the other third unique selling point, apart from the Arabic and the MENA participants, is the pay-as-you-go.
Yeah.
When I was in all my previous career, I always got frustrated that I need to sign up for these tools. Some of them asked you to pay yearly, not as a benefit. It's just their thing. There's no monthly payment. So I have to pay yearly for one study that I need to do, very quickly. So, and again, we can't be user-centric unless we were listening to our users, right? So, and a lot of users, researchers, want to do something quick. They want to run a quick survey, maybe 6 months down the line, they want to run another thing. It's very ad hoc. So you don't want to be frustrated by paying something. In that situation, you're kind of taking advantage of complacency, where we thought, okay, let's make it easy for researchers. Let's give them pay-as-you-go pricing. So that's how we started. We've added a membership option now, so there's both, but that's for different types of features. But we said, hey, let's give the flexibility of everyone to use pay-as-you-go. So I would say those three things are, I would say, the critical USPs of us. There's one more thing. We knew the quality of our platform is as good as our testers in our participant database. So we've set up a lot of algorithms for the testers itself. So each tester in our database has got a rating. It's like your Uber rating. So we have a tester rating and it's like 100% down to bottom. So the better they answer, the more detail they give, they get better rating. And if they don't answer well, or they rush through things, they get lower rating. And that feeds into how many tests they get later on. And it's a whole cycle. So there's a whole algorithm behind all of this. I think that's very, very good and it's powerful, which is kind of unique. And everyone knows, the testers know, my rating's going to drop if I don't answer it well. So we've focused a lot on our quality of our responses. It's still tweaking. We're still getting there, but there's a whole algorithm behind it, which we're quite proud of.
I'm so excited for this feature because honestly, one of my problems with such software is because sometimes they run them within, let's say, mobile games, and they have a pop-up, hey, answer this survey. And usually when someone's playing a game, he just doesn't care about the survey, just press any button. Yeah. But you're saying, no, the quality of testers is very important for you, I guess, as well.
Yeah. We have a score based on that. And then we have we've got these smart algorithms. So for example, if we see someone skipping through things, like you said, in 1 second, it kind of flags them up, right? And it'll say, okay, these testers here, they rush through the test completion. Or I'll give an example. Let's say, they say they're in one country, but actually they're in another country. It recognizes that anonymously, and he said, okay, do you want to block these testers? So we're very keen on making sure the quality of our testers is very, very strong. So you get the actual valuable data.
Now, talk to me about recruitment, talking about building the team, because I spoke a little bit with your team, and they're all of them, it feels like they're on a mission and they're very excited about the UX. It's not just a job for them. How do you look for people in UX or research jobs?
Okay, very good question again. So we take time in hiring because we want to get the right people. If you think about it, our product from digital things is UXers and researchers, right? Our product is our people. We're not an app apart from UserQ, but digital things is a service. So I have to get the best people to be able to sell the service to my clients. So we kind of handpick them from all around the world. To give you an idea, we've got, let's say, 17 people. We've got 14 nationalities, right? They're all from different parts of the world. And I love that. I love that diversity because they bring in their own experience. They bring in their own apps and usage. But we handpick them. And technical skills is like the baseline. Yeah, they need to know how to wireframe and do designs and things like that. But then it's also things like creativity. It's about influences and it's about passion. The number one thing is passion. We ask about we don't ask, but we find out how passionate they are about the craft itself. How passionate are they about users, and bringing them into the play. So these are all parts of the interview process that we look for. Especially me, when I interview, this is actually I'm looking more about these kind of things: the passion, the ability to learn new things very quickly because the market changes, the trends change. Curiosity for knowledge is something that I look for. a lot, because someone that's always wanting to learn will always stay ahead of the game and always be, on trend. So they're the kind of things that I look at. So I've got my own list of questions that I ask to uncover those kind of truths about them before we hire them. That's why you can see that passion coming out, And in turn, they like working for us because they know we focus on UX. They focus on research, I mean, there's a lot of choice when people come to this country. There's lots of companies now hiring for researchers, hiring for UX. But when they see that actually they have a seat at the table, they have a chance to challenge clients, they love that. And so they come. That's why they come and say yes to working for me, because they're like, oh, these guys are actually focusing on what my passion is. Because I don't know about you, you probably see a lot of designers and everything. They get frustrated. Oh, no one's listening to me. I give all this research. I do amazing designs, but my stakeholders want something else, right? So I think working for us, they think, okay, these guys are focused on UX. We haven't diluted our offering. And we always say to the team, feel free to challenge clients. I want you to challenge clients, because they're hiring us for our expertise. So we can't be like yes men, but I want you to say, no, this is what the best practices are. This is what we should be doing. And they love that. So it's a two-way street. They have to love working for us and we love to hire them. But yeah, I have my own set of things that I look for. My team also, when they're hiring, they look at for certain things like technical skills and communication, stakeholder management. Influencing is a big thing in our world. You could be a great designer, you could be a great researcher, but if you can't influence anybody, then it's a waste, right? It's a big element. So we look at those kind of skills as well. I also look at, there's lots of other random things I look at. I look at how organized their files are when they're showing me how messy their desktop is. Not that it changes anything, but it shows me how they think, and everyone's different, right? Everyone works in a different way. So I try and understand that as well. I've got some people that are very, very creative. But at the same time, you have to let go of some things, right, in terms of organization. And some things are very structured and box, which is great. And they're both very good profiles. And when we decide projects, actually, we look at that. Oh, this guy's creative. They want someone creative. Or this guy's very structured. And let's use this person for that. So you need that diversity. And you need to hire for that diversity.
And just to on that point, because I asked some of your clients, and yes, your teammates actually challenge clients and they always say, hey, did you think about this? Did you think about this? So it's not just you're hiring a consultant. They're actually working with a partner.
Correct.
And they're curious. Yeah. They're like, hey, did you try this? Did you try this? Hey, maybe you can discover this opportunity. And I don't know. I don't think you can coach this.
Yeah, I agree. I think and clients do actually like that, by the way. They want that. They want to see it as partner. And so, to be honest, nowadays, after 6 years of doing this, when you speak to clients, you kind of know straight away if they see you as a partner or just a supplier, and you want the partner, and I actually say that on calls to them. I say, look, guys, if you're looking for a supplier, we're probably not the best. You'll get suppliers anywhere. But if you want that expertise, you want a bit of challenging, you want a bit of co-creation, then use us. And they like that. They like the fact that, yes, and I would say that all of our clients have seen us as a partner. They've seen us as an extension of their product team or their design team. Which is amazing to see, and they I think they like working with us. They like that oomph that we bring to our clients.
And even some of the UX roles or the researchers that you have in your team, they come from unconventional backgrounds. They didn't study design or study research.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've had a lot of career switches, I call them, and it's been really good. So we've had lots of past employees where they were in a completely different job. From teachers to people in venture capitalists, and or in finance, for example. And what they did is they studied because they fell in love with UX. And they studied for a course for a year or whatever it may be. And then they came to us. And whether we started off as an intern or a graduate, we saw that passion. We saw that, and actually those are great employees because they've come into the craft new, fresh pair of eyes, and they've still got that passion for the craft, and that's worked really, really well actually for us. It's we're big fans of those career switches, that have come in.
And any advice for someone who's going want to make the switch to UX?
I would say again, I look for a theory, but it's not the be all and end all. You need to have a baseline of theory. You need to know what certain things are, and that you can learn in a variety of different ways. There are lots of courses opened up now. There's masters in these kind of courses, not the traditional degrees, but there are actual masters in there. There's like year-long courses, there's boot camps, there's a lot of things you can do. I would suggest do something like that first, to learn the baseline of the craft. And then I would say don't feel that you're taking a step back or anything like this if you do things like internships or junior positions just to get in the industry. Because once you do that, first of all, you'll get so much experience in working with clients and deadlines, and you'll apply the theory into practice. And ours is a kind of a niche industry where to get a good UXer, a good researcher, it's not easy to find somebody like this. So if you're good at what you do, you've got the passion, you've got the theory, and then you've got some experience, then your career is just going to grow massively, exponentially. And I've seen it happen with my past employees, So I would say that sometimes you might need to take a step back, whether it's a junior role or internship, just to take 3 steps forward. I think sometimes people worry about that, but I think, it's a growing industry, it's a growing trend. And sometimes you just got to invest a little bit to get it back. A lot of people say, hey, I've done a Google course, I should be a senior. It doesn't work like that. Come on, you need to go through the stakeholders, you need to go through the deadlines, you need to go through how your theory sometimes might not match the practical. Okay, and learn all that stuff first, and then your career will just fly. And I've seen it happen. I've seen my past employees or friends of mine that have just really excelled afterwards, exponentially. So.
And there's something wrong with the salary. It was inflated for the past few years, yes, yeah, and now there's a self-correction. How do you deal with those kind of people who are like, no, I deserve this, even though they have 1 or 2 years of experience?
I've seen this a lot, actually, especially in our industry as well. And I think, if I'm able to say, I think sometimes the problem is not with the people. I think it's with the companies. So sometimes, let's say startups, for example, I've seen startups where they've been funded like crazy, especially during the funding boom that happened before. And there's a lot of money that was deployed in startups and said, okay, we can afford this, to spend so much money on design, and we can actually overpay, right? Salaries. And I've seen it firsthand where that's backfired, and then they had to lay off a lot of people. And then what happens is those UXers or designers will get laid off. Then let's say I interview them or they're interviewed anywhere else. Their expectation of salary is even greater than what they were paid before, right? Which was already inflated because of the funding that was there. So then what happens is then they don't take the other jobs. They're like, no, I've got 2 years experience. I should be on this much money. But it's just because of how the companies set that trend, It's changing now. But I think so it's not, I don't blame the employees or people looking for jobs. I think it's just what happened in the last few years, where startups was the craze, UX and everything came in, and then people started coming into the industry. So I think it's just like a snowball effect that happened. I think it's changing a lot. I've seen it change a lot. But it's also, there's a few other reasons for it. Like sometimes companies might not be mature from a UX perspective. So they might not know how to assess the skill level of an employee. So sometimes they'll overpay, but at the same time they'll underpay, right? They don't know that actually this is a senior person. They've got so much skills, and they'll underpay because they'll think, oh, this is just a designer. It's easy. I can do that from anywhere, So it's not like that. It's paying the right fair value, which is super, super important in this industry. And I think there's just a lot of things that happened that causes expectations to be different in the past few years. I think it's changing. You're right. It's changing a lot now. And naturally, I mean, there's a lot more supply in the market in the UX industry in this region. So naturally, salaries will, because there's demand. So people are now accepting lower salaries and stuff. It's not right, by the way. I'm not saying, I don't condone it. I'm just saying this is what's happening in the market. When I started 6 years ago, it was tough to find UXers. I had to always hire from abroad, always. I had to, obviously you pay for flight tickets, you pay for accommodation, you pay relocation fees. This is before, and hiring the right channel. But now, when I release a job, and we just get flooded with people that want a job. And I'm not saying that we will take advantage of that. I'm just saying that there's a lot more supply. There's a lot more people getting into the field, but there's a lot more people coming into the region. And naturally, that will happen across the board. So then you're right, salaries will kind of get adjusted, and it won't be overinflated. I do think that there are some clients that undervalue UX. It's not just about not paying crazy salaries, but you shouldn't pay lower salaries either. It's a niche skill. Research it's a big skill. It's an art to do research properly. UX is an art. UI is an art. It's a creative element inside you. And sometimes I think that there are companies that undervalue that. That shouldn't be the case either. We should just be paying fair value. Market, it's a niche. It's definitely a niche. It's a skill set, and we should pay. So I don't believe in overinflating, and I don't believe in underinflating. We should get to that good level.
You're absolutely right about there's a lot of really talented product managers, UX, researchers, designers that are coming into the region, especially in Dubai. What makes UAE in general very attractive to all of those talents?
I think it's there's a few things. So the reason I came to the country, by the way, I've been visiting since year 2000, 1999, when I first came to this. And there's nothing. There was only the Burj Al Arab. That was it. Nothing. I think Marino wasn't exist. Nothing was there. Downtown wasn't there. But I came every single year. And I just saw the growth. I just saw everything growing, like the government, like their vision and the execution of that vision, right? And imagine you come every year and something new is there, I remember once when sorry to digress, but I came ages ago and I had a friend here and he said to me, "Oh, come and visit me at my university." And I said, "Okay, tell me the location and I'll come." This was a long time ago. And I went down. And I was driving in like the desert, and I was like, "Where am I going? Like, what is this? It's just desert on every side." Da, da, da. You know where it is now? A knowledge village, like next to like marina and everything, right? That's where the universities are. So now it just looks like Dubai, but at that time it was just desert. I felt like I was traveling far away just to meet this guy. So I saw that growth, and I just thought, I need to be here. I need to be a part of this growth, and I think that's what's attracting people now. They want to be in a situation where there is a potential to really grow, not from a career perspective, not just from a career perspective, but from an industry perspective, do some great stuff in the region. Obviously, there's lots of other benefits, the tax benefits, the lifestyle benefits, the safety, there's all of that. So that's just attracting everybody, and I think like Dubai now is known, there's a startup hub as well. There's a lot of opportunities. People are there's lots of great companies out there, and I think in the last few years, it's come on the map because of like the exits that have happened. Let's say the Amazons come into the region, the Ubers buying a Korean. All these things have changed the tech landscape, and that's attracted a lot of people here, which is great. It's great to see, and I've seen so many my clients now. They're great. They're very UX mature. They've come from different backgrounds. Even the people that have been here for a long time, you can just see that whole thing change. The trend just going upwards. It's great to see from an agency perspective.
That's very inspiring. But it's not all roses. Remember, business is going relatively well. Then pandemic happened. How did Digital of Things survive?
Oh God, that was tough. That takes me back to a very, very tough time. So the thing is, when the pandemic hit in March, we were probably a year and a half old. So we had enough clients, and I remember we had a huge pipeline because people started knowing who we were in the region. They knew the lab, they knew us as the UX experts, and our name was kind of out there. And we just had a huge pipeline. And at that time, we didn't have a fancy tool. We just wrote it on a whiteboard, and it was the whole wall was taken up by the pipeline. Right? We just had loads of clients and opportunities written. I was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing." So in February 2020, just before pandemic, I hired 4 people, and they started in February, mid-February. I said, "This is the pipeline. We're going to grow massively. Oh my God, this is amazing. Let's hire." So we hired 4, and we actually moved them from abroad and some people from this region. And it was 4 new starters. And then pandemic hit in March, and I was like, "Oh my God." And literally, I remember wiping off the pipeline one by one because, we dealt, a lot of our clients were direct-to-consumer brands or B2C brands where they had physical stores as well. And they said to me, "We have to cancel our contract because we've closed shop. It's COVID. We had to close everything, right? So we've got no revenue coming in. So how can we pay you?" Right? So we were like, the byproduct of that whole COVID issue. So I had to delete the pipeline. And I remember having these 4 people new. on top of my additional team. And I was like, what do I do? What do I do? And I remember we sent everyone home, and people asking me daily. We used to have daily calls, and they used to say, "Sudipt, what's going to happen? Is my job safe? Are we going to be okay?" And it's the first time I said, I don't know. I've never been through a pandemic. I've never experienced this in my life. And I don't want to give you false promises and say, hey, everything's going to be fine. I have no idea. But I tell you one thing, I will do what I can. Me and Brooke together, we will do what we can to survive. I just need, everyone to come on board and just trust me with it. And that's what we did. We never fired anybody in that time. Never gave 50% pay cut for 6 months or a year. And we said, but we did everything in our power. We negotiated all of our suppliers. We negotiated rent. We negotiated payment terms. We did everything we could just to survive. I remember clients used to call me up, and they were trying from their side to negotiate, and changing payment terms and things. And it was a constant battle for survival. It was a survival of the fittest type of thing at that time. But I took a long-term approach, and I remember telling the team, I said, I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to do what we can to survive. But I guarantee you one thing, once we come out of this, we are going to thrive, because everyone's going to realize the importance of digital. Everyone's going to realize the importance of UX research, and getting amazing digital experiences. Complacency is not going to be a thing anymore, once we come out of this. So if we just survive through this period, then we're going to thrive. I remember saying that. So I made everyone, obviously a lot of people were on bench because the projects got deleted, which was tough. And I set lots of side projects for them to do in that time. And a lot of things came out of it. UserQ was one of them. UserQ came out of that, the idea for it. And then we started building it from a UX UI point of view, and then the actual development. So our training academy came out of that. The idea, we had a dot score, which is our algorithm to quantify UX for a website or an app. So not subjective. We actually give you a score of how good your UX is. That came out of the pandemic. So we did a lot of things ready for when we come back out. And it worked. It was tough. I'm not going to lie. It was very, very tough. But we survived through it.
And so far, what was the toughest decision that you have to make as a founder, and how did you approach it?
In that time, or just generally? The toughest decision is, I would say, as a founder, saying no. It's either saying no to a client, so not take on the work from the client. That is tough, because it's like someone willing to give you revenue as a founder, but you're saying, I don't want it, right? And the reason sometimes we do that is if we see that it's going to be a risk, that they have unrealistic expectations, they have unrealistic timelines. What happens is, more than the revenue, you would lose out a lot more with your employees. They'll be dissatisfied. Okay, they'll be struggling, they'll be burnt out, they'll be stressed. So what happens is they'll leave, they'll go somewhere else. So you're going to lose out on your best employees because of some clients that are, not, they have unrealistic expectations. So for me, the hardest thing is saying no. And as a founder, you're saying no to money, right? You're saying no to revenue coming into the business, but you've got to look at the longer term. Do I want this frustration? Do I want this type of client where my team is going to get very stressed out, get demotivated? There might be like arguments within the team because they're so frustrated, right? So it ruins everything. So you've got to look at the longer term. I remember in COVID, I had to go against that, actually. And I actually take on projects that I didn't want, just because we needed it. So that choice was more, do I take this project, which is I know is going to be frustrating, right? Or do I let go of people straight away because we don't have projects? So in COVID, it was different. I had to say yes, which I didn't want to, but you have to at that point. But when you get now in the normal BAU world, the hardest thing to do is say no, but it's the right thing to do, to say no. So I would say that is probably number one. Sometimes employees as well, because we're a small team. Everyone is very good with each other. They're friends with each other. Sometimes you have to say no for a business decision if they want something or there's a ask. We try and accommodate everything as much as we can, but sometimes there's a business need where you have to say, okay, we can't do this, and it's not because we don't want to do it for you. We'd love to do everything for you, but sometimes there is a business need which no one knows the ins and outs of, and that sometimes you have to say no, which is tough. So I'd say those two things. Saying no is probably the hardest thing as a founder, but it's the art.
I was just speaking with a friend before I came here, and he's leaving his development agency.
Yeah.
And this is exactly the reason, because the sales team says yes to any request, any projects,
Yeah.
and even sometimes the client does not have any realistic expectation.
Yeah.
And this causes a lot of frustration, and good developers, product managers, they just eventually leave.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is the whole thing. You got to think about the longer term consequences of it all. So yeah, I would say that's the hardest thing as a founder to do, and also the hustle culture still has to be there. You can't be complacent. So sometimes, where things go wrong, or or you're stuck somewhere, you got to pull out the stops. You got to make the phone calls and say, hey, can you help me out? And asking for help. Actually, I would say that's the hardest thing. A lot of founders don't do it, but I would say it's the number one thing you should do. If you're stuck, just ask for help.
So I asked your team this question before I done this interview. I didn't tell them I'm doing this interview. I was like, hey, what is Sudipt very passionate about or very excited about? And they all mentioned almost the same answer, which is he was like, he's very passionate about teaching UX in this region.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Why this is very important to you?
There's two reasons. Number one, I love teaching. I don't know, I just enjoyed it. Like I even enjoy it now. I think sometimes, you don't realize what your purpose is in life, and you still don't. Most people don't know what their purpose is in life, and even I don't know what my purpose in life is. But I do know what I love. I love and what I enjoy and what I get reward from. And it's not monetary at all. It's actually helping others. And I realized this over, I would say, the last 5 years, 10 years. It's like I get happy when I see somebody else that I've helped, even if it's a small way. Or I pushed into a certain direction and they've come back and says, thank you so much for your help. It really helped me. That for me is very rewarding. Right? And I realized that. And so that's why teaching I love. I'm not saying that I know everything, but anything that I do know, I would love to teach. And I think my team know that as well, that I like to teach them various different things that I'm very good at. But at the same time, I do want others to teach. So I do have like lunch and learn sessions we have in the team. And, we want everyone to show their skills. So number one is a passion thing for mine. And day one, when I started Digital Things, I always wanted to have a training service to teach people in this region for UX and research. And so the other reason is the demand in this region, because it was still quite nascent, and it's still quite nascent right now as an industry. Here, Saudi, Egypt, everywhere is quite nascent, but growing very strongly. So this is the right time to teach, and how can we use our skills to teach? And I would love to launch that. And I've been trying to do it since day one. And I'll be honest, it's time. It's a full-blown service that you're trying to launch. You need the right modules, you need the right marketing for it. It's like a separate company. I've already got two now, UserQ and Dot. Having another one, it's just time for me. We have done a lot of training for clients, but I want to launch it in a more scalable way for public as well, for B2C. That's what I'm looking to do. So you'll see that in 2025. That's one of my priorities.
I'm excited for it. Yeah. But let's say I'm a B2C company. What are the 3 main things that you think it's important for them to learn for UX?
For UX? Oh, okay. That's a very good question. So if you're B2C, you are not your user. That's number one. I would definitely teach. That what your preconceived notions are about your users, or a certain nationality or a certain gender, it's not right. It's not, you'll be surprised. So number one, I would say that's number one I would teach in the UX world. The other thing is I would teach is the impact of UX that can have on your metrics. People don't realize that. The small things you can do, the tweaks, people don't realize the impact it can really have on your bottom line. The way I describe it is like a radio, the old school radios, with the little knobs, and it's static. And when you tweak everything in a certain way, one day you'll get super clear sound, right? Really amazing sound. That's what UX is. Tweak certain things, play around with it, iterate, test, experiment, and then you achieve all the metrics there. And I've seen that firsthand. So when I used to work for the bank, by the way, I remember there was a 4 buttons in a row, right? And literally they moved one button down. So I was looking after a specific product in a bank, and they moved my button to open a new account, just one down. So not the first, second out of the 4. Sales dropped 40%, and that was the only change that happened. So conversely, if you do something that is small and tweak, it can have huge impact to it. So that's the other thing I'll teach. Like, you don't know how certain small things can have such a huge impact to your metrics. And it's just understanding the best practices, observing your users, what they do. It could be a very small problem that they're leaving you or they're abandoning you, very small. And if you just fix that, imagine how much upside you'll receive. So those are kind of things I would probably teach in the whole program. We've got a lot of ideas on it. The other one, which is another passion of mine that I would love to teach, is accessibility in this region. My team are super passionate about it, which is inclusive design, which is how do you cater for people with color blindness, for example, or visually impaired. We don't look at that too much right now, and we should. It's good for society, it's good for everyone. So, how many people are colorblind, men in the world?
I'm assuming it's a very low number because as capitalists, we don't care about it.
Yeah, it's 1 in 8.
1 in 8?
1 in 8 men.
That's not a small number.
Yeah, it's not a small number. 1 in 8 men are colorblind. So if your colors and everything is wrong and people can't distinguish between it, you've lost a big percentage of your users, 15% of your users, approximately. My maths is right. That's just color impairment, right? But there's lots of other things in there that we talk about inclusivity. Sometimes people struggle with certain things, and is your app catering for everybody? Is it being inclusive or are you not? I would love to teach that in this region. I love it. My team would love it, actually, to be honest, more than me, because they are super passionate about it.
I love the fact that you said my team is very passionate about it. And speaking about inclusivity, especially in design and research and UX, how important is it to have a very diverse team doing research?
Oh, it's super, super important. Oh my God, it's so we have a very diverse team, and it's great because they bring in their own nuances, they bring in their own thoughts, their stigmas and everything like this, right? And it's great because it forces a debate. It forces a certain a forced debate that comes with an outcome, which we love. So my team from different countries around the world, they've got experience of their own apps in their countries and how things are done from not just apps but offline processes. So it's amazing to put that all together, and have that diversity. I remember once we did a card sorting exercise with I think it was 6 nationalities, and they're all different. And we said, you got to group these food items into one, and you all have to agree on the name. Oh my God, it is fascinating. It is fascinating. Not just from observing what they do, because they call different things. Everyone calls different products different things, right, from their home country, and they have to decide on one, which is amazing to see. But also the researchers that were moderating the session, they were all from diverse backgrounds. Now, if they're all from the same, they would say, no, this is what we all call it in this region, so this is the right answer. But actually, there was a debate between everyone. So I'll give you a perfect example. We were doing something for e-commerce, and where you buy magazines in the UK and you buy chocolates and things like that, right? What do you call that? What do you call it in Lebanon?
I think here they call it the Baqala store. Yeah.
Okay, right. Over there, it's a news agent.
Sorry?
News agent.
News agent.
Yeah, it's a term that everyone knows. Right?
We buy chocolate. Yeah,
we buy chocolate magazines, cigarettes or anything like this, right? Pens. Like a Zoom supermarket type, like a Zoom store here. So that's called a news agent, right? Now, no one knew what that term meant here. Absolutely not. But so if my researchers are all British, they say, no, this is a news agent. This is called a news agent, right? But it will fail in this region. So, but then the researchers were so diverse that they said, no, we call it something else here. We call it this. We call it that. So again, you're not having that bias within it. So it's super important to have that diverse team because then they'll bring out, actually, it's not what you assume is normal. It's not, right? It's actually something else. Like here, like in, we call it a pantry. What is a pantry? We don't use that word in the UK. We use it a food cupboard, or there's like different words.
I never noticed this. Yeah.
Right? It's very different. Like and having that diversity is super important because this is where it comes out. This is where you'll see the problems, where you're assuming a certain naming or a certain way of doing things. And actually, if you get a diverse team, they'll start telling you this is actually not normal or not assumed. You need to find out exactly what is the right naming convention or the right behavior in this way.
So one piece of advice for companies that work with international markets is, especially in the product team, design, UX research, is to have a diverse team to see those nuances, and even mention to encourage debate.
Yes, encourage debate. Exactly. Yeah, that's where it'll come out actually. Because a lot of people sitting at their desks will come out with, oh yeah, this is what we call it. This is fine. This is assumption. but it won't encourage the debate. The real insight comes out from the debate, the talks, the conversations. That's really when you get to the crux of it. And people will. I'm trying to think of examples, but there are lots of apps where I've seen this. They didn't know what this button meant or this specific category meant. And that's why they have to. That's why no one clicked on it. That's why they didn't. That's why there wasn't much engagement on this particular flow. So it's those kind of things, but they just assume that people would understand because they're from a certain background or certain nationality, which is not the case, especially in a diverse market like here, or MENA in general, to be honest.
How can my audience support you? Where we can find you? People who listen to the podcast want to work with digital things. Who's your ideal candidate?
So we work with anybody that wants to help improve the experience. If they want to do research as well, we can help with all of those kind of things. The best way to reach out is on our website, digitalthings.com and userq.com. So both of those, you can reach out to them. We're quite active on LinkedIn. I'm quite active on LinkedIn, so you can always reach out to me on LinkedIn. But yeah, and the type of people we work across industries. So there's not like one industry that we focus on. We work across multiple industries, and we work all the way from startups all the way to enterprise. So it's everybody that wants to improve the experience.